Next week, I'm getting married to my high school sweetheart, Lucas. The problem is, I'm keeping a big secret from him, and I don't know how to tell him about it. You see, Lucas is the most amazing guy in the world. He's smart, sweet, and caring. Way too caring. And that's exactly the problem. He doesn't know how to say no to his mooching family and selfish friends. That's why I have been hiding all my money from him. The problem is, now that we're getting married, I have to get him to sign a prenup to protect my assets, and he'll know that I'm rich. You see, I grew up in this really wealthy family. My dad was the owner of a massive business with many branches all over the country. When I was really young, I got everything I wanted and was sort of spoiled. My dad never said no to anything my older sister or I asked. So we all had the toys we wanted, we all had the prettiest dresses and even ponies. It got really bad, believe me. My mom had passed away when I was born, so we were all he had, and he wanted us to be happy. To him, happiness could be bought with money, and so he just showered us with gifts. That was until my older sister got in really bad trouble. You see, Sharon was 8 years older than me, and so she graduated high school way before I started my sophomore year. If I was spoiled, then she was the queen of all prima donnas. Sharon got into a lot of trouble, and my dad bailed her out every single time. I guess she was just trying to get his attention, but that doesn't justify the fact that she started stealing from a whole lot of shops. When she did something silly like that, Dad just threw money at the problem and pretended nothing had happened. My sister seemed grateful, but in reality, she wanted my father to actually react to her mistakes instead of just fixing them over and over again. So she got into more trouble and began hanging out with the wrong people. That was when she was caught with her good-for-nothing boyfriend. He had convinced her to steal at a market at gunpoint. She was scared out of her mind, but followed his lead. When they ran outside and tried to get to their car, the police were already there, waiting. Someone inside the store had activated a silent alarm. That time, my father couldn't sweep this mess under the rug. He hired the best lawyer for Sharon, but she still had to spend a few years in jail, far less than she would have without Dad's help, but still. That was when my father realized that things had to change. He got me out of the private school I had gone to my entire life and placed me in public school. He became really strict and began teaching me the importance of responsibility and the worth of money. After seeing where my sister had landed for being a spoiled brat, believe me, I was open to learning all the lessons my dad had to teach me. I became a straight-A student and began behaving like a normal teenager. I had an allowance, but it was so much less than anything Dad could have really given me. I used regular, cute clothes, but nothing crazy expensive. The truth of the matter was, I didn't want people knowing I was rich, so I didn't invite anyone to my house. I always hung out in other students' places. It was better that way. It was during high school that I met the love of my life, Lucas. He was the kindest, sweetest guy I've ever known in my life, and I fell for him at once. We started dating, and I learned everything about him. He came from a messed up family. His dad had a gambling problem, and his mom was so lazy she didn't even bother cooking breakfast or doing laundry for her family. Lucas had to walk his little sister to and from school every single day. I found him so responsible and caring, and loved that about him. When I finally introduced him to my dad, he approved of him rather quickly.
"You are an upstanding young man,"
Dad said at the end of our dinner.
"I think my daughter is very lucky to have found you."
Yeah, Dad was really dazzled by Lucas. He loved that my boyfriend had a plan for his college already, and that he spent his every Saturday helping out in a local soup kitchen. After we graduated from high school, we moved in together almost immediately. We were both going to the same college, so that was great. He had earned a full scholarship, and Dad paid for my tuition. I also paid the rent and told Lucas it was all a gift from my grandmother. It was a small lie, But I didn't know that soon enough, I'd be hiding even more from him. Why? Because every single time his dad asked him for money, Lucas would bail him out, just like my dad had with Shannon. The problem was Lucas barely had any income, and he took a half-time job to help his father pay his debts off. I helped him out with money here and there, but every time I gave him any, he used it to save other people from their own troubles. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy Lucas has such a kind heart, but I'm afraid he'll allow people to take advantage of him his whole life. It wasn't only his dad who asked him for stuff. His friends were really selfish and would ask Lucas for just about anything. If any of them needed some extra cash or help moving or something, they always asked Lucas for it. And I'd understand that if they were there for him when he needed them, but they only took and took. Honestly, I felt awful lying to Lucas about my family's money, but I knew to tell him about it would only get us in trouble. I understood that perfectly one terrible night. We were both sleeping when we heard someone banging at our front door. He rushed there, and when he opened the door, his dad came barging in. I was so shocked. The man looked sweaty and desperate. He had a big bruise on his face.
"Son, I need money right now,"
he screamed, and started demanding Lucas save him from some loan sharks he had gotten himself tangled up with. I asked him what happened, and his father admitted that he'd lost a big sum of money during a poker game. I couldn't believe it. Grabbing Lucas and talking to him in the kitchen, I told him, "Lucas, you can't bail him out every single time. It'll only end up badly." He hugged me, and I thought he understood what I had told him, but instead he replied, "He's my dad. I need to be there for him." That was when I decided to tell him about what happened to Shannon. I left out the part of my dad's fortune, but revealed everything else. He seemed super shocked. "Why didn't you tell me that before?" he asked. "I was ashamed," I explained. But before I could say anything else, we heard someone running out of our house and slamming the door shut. We walked back to the living room to discover his dad had left. I was so confused, but soon discovered why he had left in such a hurry. He had actually stolen my jewelry box. Lucas was furious, yes, and he apologized profusely. He promised to pay me back, but I told him I didn't want him to. Please don't press charges," he begged, and I reluctantly agreed. Well, the problem is, he still continues talking with his father. What will happen if his dad comes demanding more money? If Lucas discovers I'm loaded, he could actually drain my bank account and bail the man out. And though his dad is the biggest problem in our lives, the rest of his family is no better. His mother is so lazy that he has to make sure she doesn't forget to pay for her rent and bills. And sometimes he has to lend her some cash because she always seems to be a bit short. His little sister is super nice, but she's always asking for money for silly, superficial things. I understand she has no ill intentions and she's just a teenager, but it seems to never end. So I need to get Lucas to sign a prenup and keep our accounts separate. I will buy him anything and everything he wants. It's not about being greedy with my money, but I don't want him to throw away all our money, letting people take advantage of him all the time. My dad's lawyers wrote up all the documents, and I have them saved in one of my desk drawers. I'm so scared to ask Lucas to sign them because I'll have to admit that I'm wealthy and that I've been keeping it a secret from him all this time. What if he decides to call off the wedding? What if he tells his dad about it? I'm sure his father is foolish enough to demand me or my dad to pay some debt for him now that we're family. Dad loves Lucas, but he's not crazy about his folks at all. I'm worried he'll try to talk me out of marrying the love of my life if anything like that happens. I'm so worried that I can't even enjoy the wedding preparations. I really need some advice, and I'd like you to tell me what you'd do if you were in my shoes. So what would you tell your fiancé? The truth? Or try to find some way to hide it forever? Thanks for watching. Let me know your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe and check out other videos on the channel.